Hey, what's going on? It's Stokely from Sauce on the Lane. So I'm gonna be weird, and it's kind of, if I had some more discipline, I would be able to structure my speech in a linear fashion that makes a convincing argument and builds up to supporting whatever the conclusion, and builds up to support my conclusion, right? So let's say this is the abstract. The abstract is the electronics that we own and encounter, and the electrical systems that are around us are making us violent, are making us antisocial. That's the abstract. So now, this last night or yesterday, I was having not a significantly or especially difficult conversation with someone, but it was difficult. It wasn't that difficult, but I wondered why this person was acting in the way that they're acting, especially at this time. So, grabbing at straws. Anyhow, before I grabbed at straws, so why is this person acting like this? Anyhow, so I said, you know what, guess what? One way that I relieve stress is by taking a shower. So I went ahead and took a shower. And the shower has a window, and I looked out the window, and I noticed that it was a full moon. So I said, wait a minute. I wonder if the full moon has something to do with this person's behavior, abrasive speech, whatever. Now, they did apologize for some of their behavior, but it just continued after that. Anyhow, so I wondered why this person has such abrasive behavior. So anyhow, to cool myself off and calm myself down, because I don't like to have negative thoughts about people, and I don't like to say negative things, and I don't like to self-medicate, because self-medicate to self-soothe, self-medicating to self-soothe takes you off your path of discipline, takes you off your path of whatever you're doing. If you're just self-soothing if you're just self-medicating to self-soothe. So anyhow, so I chose to self-soothe by taking a shower, which is a more sustainable thing than I don't know. I was gonna self-medicate this morning. I was gonna have some Dunkin' Donuts, but I got lost. Some stuff got messed up, so I'm running late, so I can't get my Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm kind of upset about that. But anyhow, so I decided to take a shower. I looked out the window, saw that it was full moon. I said to myself, wait a minute. I wonder if the moon has anything to do with this person's behavior. And this is just, a hypothesis, whatever. So then, later on in the night, I went to sleep, and I was thinking about it the whole time. Well, I wasn't thinking about it while I was asleep. Then I woke up at 3 o'clock Actually, I started doing a little bit of research. But I didn't really get any. I didn't really find anything. So I went to sleep. And I woke up probably around 4:30 or so in the night. And I went to the bathroom, came back, picked up my phone, started browsing some stuff that I didn't intend on browsing. Then I'd get back to browsing what I really wanted to look up. And I said, let me see. Does the presence of the full moon correlate, or is it associated with an increase in crime? So Google took it upon itself to use its AI tool and says there's no conclusive evidence that the full moon correlates to an increase in crime. So anyhow, I wasn't satisfied. I kept going. And then I went on PubMed. PubMed is peer reviewed, is a resource of peer reviewed research papers. And then I encountered an article, a research. There was a study done, I think it was between 1978 and 1982, that studied 3 locales, one in a rural area, one in an industrial area, and one in a metropolitan area. And they found a definite correlation between an increase in crime during the full moon. They also saw a small spike during the new moon, which I don't know what the heck that is. But they say that the new moon spike was like, an anomaly or whatever. But in conclusion, the research stated that the full moon correlates to increases in crime. Okay, I gotta hurry because I'm about to be at work soon. So, looked up the same article again, and there was since I didn't go through the whole article, I just read the abstract. There was another abstract that referenced another research, or maybe the same research paper, but it said that research was done in 1978. So it's 1978, 1982. Any one of those research papers, look them up. They're all on PubMed. This one said the reason, possibly due to the increase in crime during the full moon, has a connection to the tide. Now we know that when there's from my understanding, from my limited understanding, I like to be humble about it because I might be wrong. From my limited understanding, the reason why the tide goes up is because the moon is closer to the earth, and according to physics, according to gravitational law, all bodies are attracted to other bodies. So if the moon is now closer in its orbit around the earth, if the moon is now closer, it's gonna pull on every single object on the surface of the earth. Everything. It doesn't just pull on the earth. It doesn't just pull on the water. It doesn't just pull on the ocean. It pulls on everything. It pulls on all of us. And the more dense, of course, the more dense the material, the more mass, not the more dense, but the more mass a material has, the greater the gravitational pull. And density is mass over volume. You increase the volume, you lower the density. You decrease the volume, you increase the density. Anyhow, whatever, you know that already. So, putting those two things together, the moon's gravitational force, the moon's magnetic, basically. Gravity is magnetism, according to Terrence Howard. It basically is, though. But it basically is. You know what I mean? Gravity, if you want to talk about magnetism and whatever, it's kind of like the same thing. The gravitational force, when you look at it, it's kind of works like magnetism a little bit. So anyhow, the moon is pulling on us. So the reason why there's an uptick in crime is because these magnetic fields are affecting people's brains. So anyhow, I looked up, are power lines associated with any health conditions or mental health conditions? Now, we know that power lines are associated with certain kind of cancers. From my limited understanding, living near the power lines are associated with cancers. I looked it up in Google. Google confirmed that also. Now, the power lines are also associated with depression and anxiety. let me see if I can find some of my screenshots here, because me saying it makes me sound weird and it makes me sound silly and whatever the case may be. Unfortunately, I wish I could just not, I don't want people to believe anything that I say. I want you to look it up for yourself. It says, what are the health risks near power lines? EMF exposure can cause neurobehavioral disorders, including circadian imbalance. That means it's make you hard to sleep. It'll disturb your sleep. Like I'm waking up 4:30, 3:30 because my phone magnetic field is waking me up. It says, I just said that, but this data is saying it. And this is from ScienceDirect.com. Anyhow, EMF exposure can cause neurobehavioral disorders, including circadian imbalance, headache, fatigue, depression, and anxiety. So depression and anxiety, those are like some of the things that alcohol causes. And alcohol has a direct correlation to violence. Something like 90% of violence that takes place, there's alcohol involved or something like that. You can ask Jordan Peterson. He reels off the numbers. He knows what he's talking about. Now, here's another one. This is from another PubMed article. The findings of the present study showed that the observable behavioral disorders such as fatigue, anorexia, sleep deprivation, and depression in the experimental subject exposed to the electric field from simulated high-pressure towers were consistent with the results of other tests. The increase in adrenaline concentration increases glucose levels. Increased white blood cell counts cause immune deficiency. Decreased red blood cell counts lead to anemia, fatigue, and drowsiness in the experimental monkeys. All matched the monkeys' behavior. It can be concluded that EMF from high-pressure electric towers are a serious hazard to cognitive abilities and can lead to mental disorders in humans and animals. Okay? So that's not me saying that. That is a PubMed peer-reviewed article saying that. Okay? Let's go to the next piece. And that article is okay. The one about full moon and crime is by it was done in 1984. I'm sorry. Originally published in 1789 to 1791. I'm sorry. But they said the period of the study covered 1978 to 1982. Okay, well, whatever. So somebody did this research, and then somebody did the same research over again, and it's by a guy named C.P. Thakur and D. Sharma. C.P. Thakur and D. Sharma. So I don't know if I proved my point. I just read it. Electromagnetic field. So okay. So now, let me talk about electronics. Whenever an electrical circuit, whenever power flows through an electrical circuit, whenever you turn it on, it creates a magnetic field. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a little toy. It could be the biggest thing that you ever think of. There's an electromagnetic field created by it. So on one instance, we have the moon, which we have associated with lunacy, saying that the full moon makes people crazy, turns them into werewolves and all kind of stuff, which is far out, which is weird. But at the same time, this data it was originally published in 1984. Those are the page numbers. 1789 is a page number. So it was published in 1984. BR Med Journal. I don't know what that is. Clin Res Ed. I don't know what that is. But the guys are C.P. Thakur and D. Sharma. Okay? So let me draw my conclusion because I gotta go. And I'm hungry. I'm so hungry, man. All the electronics around us, all of them have magnetic fields. Some stronger than others. Now, when you talk about antenna now, antenna are intentionally made to broadcast magnetic fields. Now, an antenna's ability to broadcast very far is determined by its wattage. How many watts? And we're being bombarded by electromagnetic fields all around because there's a lot of devices. There's walkie-talkies, there's digital TV, there's satellite dish TV, there's your cell phone, there's the CDMA cell phone, there's 4G cell phone, there's 3G cell phone, there's 2G cell phone, there's 5G cell phone, there's radio, FM, AM. There's so many other electromagnetic spectrum products, or there's so many different areas of the electromagnetic spectrum that are being used for communication and intentionally broadcast. Now, when your microwave or whatever else emits EMF, electromagnetic field, it's not really intentionally broadcasting it out. But it's still pushing it out because there's power going through it. Even the heater in your house, the electric heater, it's like 1,000 watts or I don't know, something like that. That's putting out not only UV heat, it's putting out, okay, forget the UV. It's putting out an electromagnetic field because electricity is flowing through it. You forget about the heater. Your car is putting out an EMF field. Back in the days when you didn't really have a strong signal with your antenna, I guess they started putting the antennas on the back of the car. That way that the alternator in the front of the car doesn't disturb the antenna. That's what I'm assuming. I want to say some other weird stuff, but it's like I don't want to discredit what I've already said because all of that is solid foundation, peer-reviewed information. Now, I don't know how 4G and 3G and 2G are done, but I was looking up 5G, and the thing about 5G is, one thing about 5G, which might be a good thing, is that it uses a thing called beamforming, which it targets your phone directly within a few degrees, like it shoots out an electromagnetic field at an angle. And I would assume that it's like a cone, because it wouldn't be just a flat triangle. It would probably be in the shape of a cone, and the vertex is the angle. So it can the very good, the most advanced, what they call mid-range 5G antennas can broadcast and make a beam, form a beam with an angle that's a few degrees, less than 10 degrees. But for the most part, it seems like many of them shoot out a beam that's maybe about 30 degrees. So, the closer you are to the vertex, the less wide it is, but the farther you are, the wider it is, and it does that so it can target your phone directly and give you more precise data and probably conserve some kind of energy, rather than a traditional antenna that shoots in a radial direction everywhere. Anyhow, you got to look at it in a picture to be able to kind of visualize it. It's the difference between, it's like when Superman shoots out a heat ray out of his eyes and he just sends it right towards you sometimes, or Cyclops. Sometimes Cyclops shoots out a beam that looks like a triangle. Whatever. I mean, I'm totally discrediting what I said earlier by using X-Men references. But please do not be dissuaded, and do not dissuade yourself or delude yourself by saying that what I'm saying is invalid, because I quoted PubMed documentation. I referenced legitimate peer-reviewed information that electromagnetic fields cause mental disorders. We are bombarded with electromagnetic fields. I mean, it's just another thing to worry about? Not really. Don't worry about it. This is the world that we live in. Listen, this is how I look at it. And I'm nobody to listen to anyway. But this is how I look at it. When we lived in the wild, in the jungles, running around, or in the forest, or in the savannah, or in the desert, or wherever the case may be, we had more dangers around us than these things like the pesticides, the electromagnetic fields, the GMO, and all the yada yada blah blah blah. These terrible ingredients: red dye number 40, dextrose, sucralose, aspartame. All of these things you can put them all together. They don't make life more dangerous than it was when we were living close to the earth in the wild, or even in a totally rural environment, whatever you want to call it. Our lifespans were probably around, at most, between 35 and 50 years old. Now, with all these different poisons around us, we're still averaging around 70-something years old. So we added 20 years to our lives with all this technology, just about. In the last, let's say 75 years, we added about 20 years to our life. Even with all these pesticides, radioactive materials, whatever, on average, we're still averaging out 70 years old. And if you're in Japan, then you know it's 80-something years old, right? It's like 89 years old. In America, it's about 76 years old. It's 82 for women and about 76 for men, or something like that. So we gotta kind of take it with a grain of salt. It's just something to be aware of, but it's nothing to freak out about or get anxiety and depression about, because anxiety and depression will make you will add upon the anxiety and depression that's being created by the electromagnetic waves and the demyelinating foods and the alcohol and all these other poisons. So, hey, just relax and you just give thanks, man. Life is good, man. Try to enjoy yourself when you can, and that's it. I think later on I hope to publish a recording on how to reduce the EMF on your phone. Anyhow, thanks for listening.